Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Diggin' It with Richey. So glad that you're with us. We've got a lot to get to once again. Club volleyball, coaching news, a couple of guests that you're not going to want to miss. Our guest today, we'll talk to you in just a minute. We'll start with Ben Kaszeta, a longtime college coach and club director, currently at Cajun Elite in the Lafayette area. We will join Coach Ben in just a bit to talk about the amazing job that they have done with Cajun Elite and the background that Coach Ben has, college coaching all over the place, and what he can tell potential recruits as well. He does a fabulous job on that front. And if you've noticed, there's a new volleyball scene out there in the social media club and beach volleyball. We're talking about 2D volleyball. We're going to go to Ruston, Louisiana, and join Reece Aultman, who is the marketing director and the guy that's really been behind the 2D volleyball. Want to find out some of the events that they have coming up, both club and indoor, and or both club indoor and beach. And they just had their first tournament as well. So we're going to talk about that. But first, let's get to some news around the volleyball community. And it starts with some coaching news. Right after we did the show last week, we found out that one of our former guests here on Digging It with Richey, talking about Allison Didier-Leak, is now the head coach at Parkview Baptist. Of course, Coach Allison has been the assistant at Parkview Baptist for the past 2 seasons. Before that, 15 years as the head coach at St. Amant, not to mention the shirt that you see her wearing in that picture there, Ignite, the club team that she has started. She actually coached her 15s last year to the furthest finish of any team in Louisiana at Nationals, where they finished, her 15s finished 5th at AAU Nationals in Orlando. Of course, she replaces Becky Madden, who's been the coach at Parkview Baptist for the past 14 years. She's been a coach for 35 years. She's a Purdue grad, so you know that the Diggin' It and VSN people, we love her. But she retires after 35 years of coaching, 14 of which we said as the head coach of Parkview Baptist. All 14 of those years, she led them to 20-plus victories as well as 7 district titles. So congratulations to both Coach Allison, and good luck and congratulations on an unbelievable coaching career for Becky Madden. Now, let's talk about some club teams. Of course, we had Julie Ibieta on of NOLA Volleyball last week. Well, she was telling us about those 8 teams, and they went to Lone Star this past weekend, and guess what? They've already got their bid for nationals. That's right. There they are with Coach Julie in the mix as well. They went to the Adidas Lone Star Classic and took 2nd place in the USA division. That means they've earned their bid already. 3 tournament MVPs from last year in the high school scene are on this team. Ellie Schneider from Country Day, Cam Chatelier from Dominican, and Zaya Nelson from Newman. This team is just loaded. Nola Savan, Ella Falavino. I could go on and on. Gabby Marcello. Oh my gosh. Gigi. There's, Sophia. Oh my gosh. I could name the whole team, but tremendous job there on the club scene for the NOLA 18s. Also, big tournament this past weekend in the local scene was the Blue Crab tournament over on the West Bank. There are some of your winners. For the 10s, it was the Rise team from Thibodaux Regional. In the middle, you see Core Elite. That's their 12s holding the coveted Blue Crab King Cake. And on the far right is a Crew 16s. They were the winners over there in the Blue Crab tournament. Keep an eye and keep watching over there. Addison Baglio, she's a middle for Ursuline, plays 6 rotations for that team. She is certainly one to watch. Great job by all 3 of those teams. And then one more shout out this week as well. Told you about Thibodaux Rise. Their 10s were not the only team that took a first place. Look at this. That's Sandy Fusel and her team, her 14s. Coach Sandy, of course, the former Assumption coach, just recently named to this latest class of the high school Hall of Fame, a well-deserved honor. We're going to have Coach Sandy on here on the show here in the not-too-distant future. But congratulations goes out to all of those club teams. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our first guest. He's the Director of Player Development and the Recruiting Coordinator at Cajun Elite. We bring in Ben Kaszeta. Coach Ben, a pleasure to bring you on this show. I knew I had to have you on with your an unbelievable background of coaching and on the college level and the recruiting and club director. You had to be on this show. So welcome to Diggin' It. How's everything going for you out in Lafayette?
Really good, my friend. Really good. It's been quite a journey, and the year has kicked off pretty good. So it's been awesome.
That's great. That's great. Now, look, I joked with you a little bit ago off camera about my notes, and there's so many things that I want to dive into. But I guess first of all, and it's a question I ask a lot of our guests, is how that volleyball bug first bit you. I know you're from Michigan, and obviously Big Ten country is huge with volleyball. Tell us a little bit about how it all started with you, even playing the sport.
Yeah, I think it was an accident. My mom used to just put us in anything. Would say, "Hey, you want to do this? Want to do that?" She ran the local YMCA swim program and kind of like the little kid leagues, and it was fun. So I picked up volleyball. I was at like 5 and 6 years old, and just would play with a whole bunch of kids in our area. In high school, after swim practice, some of us would go and practice with the girls volleyball team. We actually had 2 or 3 of these guys that played on like the pro beach tour that came out of our high school coming up too. And they were this guy named John Vestal and Jim Hildebrandt. And then there was a couple of tournaments, but there was they just played, and they played in the Michigan, which turns into the EVP now. They played on these semi-pro tours. So we just picked up and started playing. And then when I went away to college, I played with the club program up in Michigan, and then at Michigan Tech University for a little while. Came back, and I'm home running a rec volleyball league, for the best I can say it, at a basketball place. It was crazy.
And that's how it started. And that's how it started. And I know you graduated from Eastern Michigan, but and you served as an assistant coach with Eastern Michigan for at least 1 year. But before that, you are already developing. You founded a club volleyball team in '98, the Oxford Heat. Is that correct? So even before you graduate college, you're already, your mind is spinning like, man, I could develop a club here. I could coach. Tell me how it all began as far as developing clubs and coaching.
That was, again, I would say this is all purely accidental. Now I can say that's part of God's plan. But then it was an accident. So I'm running that volleyball league, and this dad comes in, and he says to me, "Hey, my daughter's 12. Can she play on your volleyball team?" Because it was a sixes league, and me and this guy Chad and this one girl Erin, the 3 of us played 3-on-6. And that's back when I was young and could still jump. It was weird. But we would play 3-on-6, and we'd win most times. It was a really low level. It was a really rec league. The rec league thing was really just for fun. I was like, "No, you're a 12-year-old. She can't do this." No, I think she was actually like 10, but there was like a U12s program. So this guy, Dave Zonzius, he said, "Can my daughter Kristen play?" I was like, "Well, fine," because Aaron was late. So come play with us today, because you had to have a girl touch the ball with the co-ed rules. So he's sitting there, and he's like, "Hey," and I said to him, like, "You run an AAU basketball for your other daughter. Why don't you run a volleyball for this one?" He's like, "Well, I might have enough kids. Last year we had a coach, and we didn't have enough kids. I don't really know." So totally facetiously, I said to him, like, "If you get enough kids, I'll help you coach it this year." I was a sophomore in college. Had no idea what was really going on. I went away and played at Michigan Tech as a freshman, but now I'm at home at the junior college. I'm just playing volleyball and just being a goofball, coaching track and coaching swimming. So I facetiously totally said it to him. The next week I'm running in because he came from a track meet, and coming in late, and I come around the corner. And when I come around the corner, lo and behold, there's 12 little kids come run up to me. They're like, "You're going to be our coach." And I literally looked and like, "Oh, crap.
Look what you got yourself into." And now here you are, almost 3 decades later. You've developed more than one club. You're currently at Cajun Elite. I know I'm jumping past the story. I don't want to get into Cajun Elite yet. I want you to still tell your story. I know you came here in 2017 to be an assistant, a head coach at the University of Louisiana Lafayette. But man, you were a head coach at 3 different colleges, JUCO, Division I. Tell us about how it started. I think Michigan at Mott, is that right, in JUCO?
Yeah, Mott Community College was the first college job. There was a high school job for 5 seasons before that one. A couple years as JV, a couple years of varsity. And again, God's funny, man. He has this plan. he moves you from one job to the next. At Mott Community College, I was there and I really needed to learn more. That's why I went to Eastern Michigan. I had partially finished. I finished a general studies degree. I'm like, what good is that going to do me? I don't even tell people I finished it. But I have this general studies degree. What good is that going to do me? And coach agreed. And she said, well, let's get a real degree. So I went there. I finished my chemistry degree and then stayed for another year on as an assistant. So I was a volunteer assistant with her and some other stuff. But she was amazing. Still one of my good friends and one of the best mentoring coaches. Even now I call her with issues and others say, okay, how would you have handled this? How could we have done this differently just to bring things up? Because she's a Hall of Famer, an All-American, just an incredible coach. But yeah, so she grabs me and comes here. I'm there for 2 seasons-ish. Time kind of floats in and out. Lake Superior State called, needed a head coach. I went up there for a couple of seasons, and I loved that school. It's not a school you can live on as a head volleyball coach. I'm like, I need to learn more. I want to do something different. And for people down here, Lake Superior State is on the Canadian border at the northernmost point in Michigan.
Cold. You think it's cold here now.
This isn't cold. I'm still in shorts and walking around in sandals. I mean, this
That's
isn't
right.
cold.
That's a Michigan guy.
Yes. So I literally moved from the Canadian border at the uppermost point in Michigan.
Yep.
To work for a guy named Terry Gamble, who was a head coach at McNeese because he won 6 national championships. And I was like, okay, you want me to come be your assistant? Let's go.
So Lake Charles, here we come. And you did more club there, but just to wrap it up, I mean, I've got you at McNeese at 2013, Jacksonville State 2014, and I always pronounce this college wrong. Help me out here, Coach.
Minot.
Minot. Yeah, I was going to say Minot. It's Minot State in 2015. So, and then you come here to UL in 2017, and you get hooked up with Cajun Elite. So I guess the college body of work, what were you like? What did you learn at each step as far as like, how did you develop into the great coach that you are now?
I've been incredibly blessed to have these mentors, even as a JUCO coach, to have Mark Rosen, who just retired from Michigan, type of thing. Having these from Kim Barrington to Terry Gamble to a ton of different people to be able to pour into me, to be able to take a little bit from each person. And Terry Gamble won national championships, and learning how to set a standard from him. Yeah. Kim Barrington, watching the way she trained setters and do other stuff, that was a weaker point for me, to be able to sit down and watch the way she did stuff. Mark Rosen, again, I got to watch him I would go in spring practices and just watch them practice and work at summer camps for years. And I just had these incredible people that were mentors that just spent their time with me. If I wanted to learn something, they weren't too big. They didn't have we're too cool for you. No, they were like, hey, come on in. And then even to come and work with Heather Mazetas at UL was fabulous. She was awesome. Yep. So it reach out to me. I need someone to come up and run the defense and work together and have just good people around the sport to be able to say, hey, let's work together and let's find a way to get some of this stuff done. So I don't think there's any step of the process that I haven't learned something. Yeah. Some of them I learned what I don't want in a job. Some of them I learned what I do want in a job. And some of them you learn what you get to be paid for. Some were great administrations and some were not so great administrations. But every place I can definitely tell you there'd be something I picked up everywhere I went. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And the story and the journey is really part of the story. So it's sometimes the best part of the story. So now that you're here, you've been here, 26 years almost down here in central Louisiana. Again, the official title is Director of Player Development and Recruiting Coordinator for Cajun Elite. But, I found out firsthand, what a quality club it was. I guess it was 3 years ago, back when my daughter's team played you guys at a tournament when they were 14 U's. Yeah. And it was our Emma's team's first loss. And I realized, like, wow, look how cool they play. Their serve receive, their defense. Because coming off the bus, it didn't look like you had, a bunch of 14-year-old studs until you started playing. And we're in the finals. It went to 3, it went to extra points, but it set up a couple years worth of rivalry between Ignite and Cajun Elite. But tell me about your club and the emphasis that you put on those fundamentals, because, now it's Coach Whalen and it's the same type of play. It is so hard to beat Cajun Elite. They're always right there in the finals in all the age brackets. I guess give us your philosophy at Cajun Elite and what Coach you and Lori and, Coach Terry, all you guys have done such a wonderful job.
The biggest thing that I learned as a college coach going out, and you go off and recruiting, and you're in these mega gyms, and you're in A5 and you're watching where they train, or TAV and watch where they train, and sports performance and juggernauts. Or I even spent a spring break of mine as a young coach out at a TCA and a club in California, just watching how they train and what they put as their emphasis and what they do different. And again, you stole stuff.
Yeah.
Every coach, I develop
Took
it,
a little
steal
bit.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Got it.
The biggest thing that I stole from watching the A5s and watching the TAVs and everything else is it actually had a group of coaches that worked together. Literally last Thursday, I'm here in the gym and I'm looking around, and I stopped and I sat there for about 5 minutes, and one of the other coaches came over and said, "Hey, what's on your head?" And I just had this big old grin, and I almost got choked up a little bit, because I'm looking down the court, and we've got a couple of our college kids that are middles at UL, and they're in the last court training middles. And then Whalen and Coach Mayer from over at Turnlings, I have two incredible setter trainers just walking up the next three courts working with setters. And I've got these 3 or 4 coaches that are walking up and down working on passing. And then I've got another court in the other our 5th court where Coach Bo is just into with 2 other people are banging balls and just working on defense. And for that 45-minute section of practice, there was no team, which is a foreign concept for a lot of people here. The reason why I think if you look at our top teams all the way down, I've got a staff of people. It's not about me. It's weird. They laugh. They tell me what they want to work on in practice, and I take what they want in practice, and I make this crazy mess of a practice plan. It's not about me or any one of us individually. It's all about the group of kids in that training group. And every time you look in practice, everybody coaches everybody. You have a Chanel walks from team to team to team, just works with the middles as a former pro who played middle.
Yeah.
Whalen walks up and down and talks to every setter. So we have a standard of play a little bit, and the fact that a group of coaches that just want to coach kids, and it doesn't matter if it's their team or someone else's team, they just want to make sure everybody gets better. That's the Cajun Elite way, if you want to call it.
Man, I love it. That is great stuff. And I've seen it firsthand, and I know what you're talking about in that gym. I've seen you guys practice, and it is a thing of beauty, and the results pay dividends. And I remember one time, that team that I alluded to earlier that we played in 14s, and then you weren't coaching them in 15s, that same group. And you're like, we like to just change it up a little bit. I forget the actual way you said it, but it was almost like it's white noise if the same coach just coaches the same group years and years, and we switch it up and then look at the unbelievable job Whalen's doing with that same group. And now you have 18s. What other teams are you coaching? And tell us, you went to Lone Star with the 18s. Yep. You didn't have a full deck, right? A couple players out playing basketball.
Absolutely.
But you still had an unbelievable tournament at Lone Star. Tell us the teams that you're coaching this year and how they're doing off to the start of the club season.
So I have one of our 15s teams and our 18s teams this year.
Okay.
So those will be my 2 tournament teams, if you call it. But again, like we say in practice, everybody coaches everything. And the 18s teams was awesome. We didn't have one of our middles with us because she's a basketball kid and had a basketball game. One of our outsides, who's just a stud from Beauchamp, she wasn't with us this weekend because she had a soccer game and it's senior night. So she came for the second day, but she definitely wasn't there the first day. But it was really cool just to see like a movable piece. Okay, she couldn't be here. Someone else got the opportunity to step up and go play the Giants in Texas. And even in the couple matches we lost, we were right there. We went to 3. It was competitive. We got after it and I can't even take credit for all of that because I have Adam on the bench with me. And if you guys haven't met Adam, he's awesome. Him calling serves and doing stuff, and we could both specialize in our area. Him focusing on how to score, and I can focus on how to not let them score. The teamwork of coaching it was awesome. It was a really neat environment. If you haven't been to the 18s in Lone Star, it's in Austin. Austin's a lot of fun, but it's just a competitive craziness. And the boys play too. I'm going to be honest with you. Watching the boys get out and play is just a fun thing. Our boys will be in that tournament next year. They aren't ready yet, but they'll be in that tournament next year, I think.
That's great. That's great. The second half of the title that we've mentioned a couple times, recruiting coordinator, and I know that's very, very near and dear to your heart, so to speak. And I know
Absolutely.
you have, and I don't know if I'm supposed to go here, but college sports prep as well, part of what you do for recruiting. If you can, just tell us, with all, like, again, at every level you've coached, JUCO, Division I, Division II, you're all over the map, Michigan, Louisiana, Florida. Tell me about the recruiting process and what you can do with players that want to take that next step, the 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls that are like, hey, Coach Ben, how do I get to the next step? What would you tell them? And if you can, just go ahead and tell us how they can contact you to get your help.
Right. Honestly, I help everybody. And I know that college sports prep employs me to do it, but it's one of those things that just, if someone wants to play at college, because I was at that end of it for so long as a recruiting coordinator or as a head coach, it doesn't matter where, there is no perfect formula. There is no, this is going to work for everybody. One coach wants to see a bunch of hitting. This coach wants to see more serving. This coach wants to see more passing. Some coaches want to see full clips. Some coaches want to see recruiting videos that are back and forth. So my job in that whole process is to mentor kids to be able to understand the biggest thing a college coach wants to do is hear from the kid. They don't want to hear from me, even as a recruiting coordinator. They don't want to hear from their high school coach. They don't want to hear from their club coach, to be honest. They want to hear from the kid first. So mentoring young kids and their parents, how to talk to people. How do I send out those emails? Who should I be sending out those emails to? And learning how to be real with it. One of the benefits of having me in this role here at the club, because you just said, like, I've coached at 10, 11 different institutions now. I've met all these people all over the country and built relationships and friendships with those people. So if I'm going to go on a job interview anywhere, they're going to check my references. And if they know your reference, it's even better because I can be flat out honest with them. So if they can call up and say to them, like, hey, can this kid really play for you? The Baylor assistant coach a couple years ago was now the head coach at SMU, and she called me about a kid who had sent an email to me, and I was like, as a walk-on only. She's a great kid. She's incredible. She doesn't jump it high enough to play at that level, but I can go back and talk to her later and be like, okay, so this is a little shooting for the stars. Let's be a little bit more realistic. Maybe McNeese is the right place for you. Maybe this level of play. So having coached at all of them, having coached at the Division Ones, I've got a key insight to what it takes to be there. And I can be, some people don't want to hear it. Some people hate hearing, your daughter's not good enough to play at that school. And some people love hearing it. They want the brutal honesty point.
Oh God, yeah. I would think the latter. As a parent, that you're trying to guide your daughter in that right direction, but you want a realistic take on what level that player should be gunning for. So I think that would be great.
Hey,
if anybody's ever been to a Cajun Elite tournament over there at their gym, they're going to see Coach Ben's dog, and probably the most well-behaved dog. Now I have a dog now, first time in 55 years in our life. He's just chilling right over here. But tell me about your dog. I mean, everybody in Cajun Elite
she's awesome.
knows your dog.
Yeah. Champagne is technically a therapy dog. Her job is to go visit kids at the hospital. So if kids are sick at the hospital, we bring a tennis ball in, and she will do thousands of tricks for hours on end, just so that you'll play with her with the tennis ball. It's pretty funny to watch. So
that is good stuff. Hey, real quick about recruiting. I remember coming over to, and again, with your relationships with the college coaches, you bring in college coaches. I remember you would text me, hey, we're, tell your, daughter's teammates that we have all these college coaches coming into the Cajun Elite gym. And I remember we came over for, Jesse Ortiz, who had just taken over the South Alabama program. Yep. And I believe a Cajun Elite, and I'm not 100% positive, but a Cajun Elite, one of your players has signed with South Alabama. And, that is, again, that's the proof of performance right there. Absolutely. Stuff like that.
It's that even then, the college coaches camps aren't about Cajun Elites, as weird as that sounds. I'm going to provide the opportunity for anybody who wills to walk in the door to be able to be exposed to a different style of coaching. So we actually have more, I think, at some of those college coaches kids, we have more kids that aren't a part of our club that are part of other clubs, like even kids who come from Baton Rouge, came from Natchitoches, from all over the place, just to be exposed to something different. If I can improve anybody. I just want those kids to be exposed to something different. And it was awesome for us to have those different philosophies, different thought processes, different people in the gym, just to speak life and to coach our kids. Yeah. It make us better, help us to learn something, because you alluded to it earlier. Every parent, your kid tunes you out sometimes. Every kid, they're going to tune us out at some point. But they might hear it heard slightly different from somebody else. Just it's saying the same thing, just slightly different, worded a different way. Might have a better relationship with this person. And the fact that I've got 20 coaches to do that on a daily basis, it's the same model bringing in those college coaches. Hopefully they're teaching volleyball. Hopefully they're teaching similar stuff, but it doesn't matter. Even if they're teaching something drastically different than what we teach. I love it because it gives a comparison model and something else to go after.
If anyone was at the Cajun Dome for this past November's high school state championships, Division 1 all the way through 5, started in the morning with the Country Day and Westminster Christian, all the way up to Division 1, Mount Carmel and Dominican, you were there leading the crowd in a prayer. And I know that fellowship of Christian athletes is a big part of who you are and what you do. And if you can, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your involvement with Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
No, technically that's my full-time job. That's my passion. That's my driving force. That's what defines me. If I am not using the gifts that God gave me to be able to coach and to coach the best that I can, then I'm not doing what he's put me on this earth to go and do. I truly believe someday he's not going to come to me and say, hey, how many kids did you help make your varsity team? Or how many kids did you help get in college? He's going to say to me, okay, I put average of 1,500 kids in front of you a year. Did you tell them about you? Did I tell them about God? So I truly believe that's a driving force, and it gives me a platform to be able to go and do that. And we share scripture or verse or something a lot in practices or anything else, but as part of the Cajun Dome, again, that was an awesome display of volleyball. Absolutely incredible. But to be able to pray, the honor to be able to pray over those games, I can truly say that's an honor. To be able to pray before every one of those games was just awesome. Be involved in those people who just want to see volleyball succeed. It was really cool.
Well, and it was so emotional too, because obviously the horrific tragedy with the Tullis family the night before, and just the shell shock of everyone that. And again, when you're at the volleyball community, and you know this 100 times more than I do, how tight knit it is. Yeah. And whether it's club and high school, you're playing with or against some of the same people, and then in a tournament like that. You're with those people for 3 straight days of 12-hour days. You're there all day. So, and then when something terrible happens to one of what you consider one of your own, everyone feels it. And I heard that the moment of silence that you did for all 5 divisions, and each one was emotional, and you could get to see people tearing up, and especially obviously for Pope John Paul's appearance in Division 4. It was as emotional of a volleyball scene that I've seen in my time. Anyway.
Coach Danny, what he has done for our community and how much he has done for the sport of volleyball and how much he loves his kids and everything he's done, literally, it's incredible. We've had some great battles, some great spats. We're both ultra competitive on the sideline. I love that. But even this weekend, we're in Austin. I went and sat and watched his team play. I watched his son play as well. He came over and watched our team a little bit, and we sat down and had a good hour-long discussion just about life and about what truly matters and relationship with Christ and his family. I mean, that stuff is way more important than volleyball, as weird as that sounds coming from a volleyball coach. But it's the impact that we all have on each other. We're here for kids. We're here to make sure that we can make us better volleyball players, but hopefully make us better people in the process, because that's way more important. So
no question. Well put. I guess on the way out, Coach Ben, if you can, I'm just going to give you an open mic. Just let people know what you want them to know about Cajun Elite, your program that you and Coach Lori and all the good folks at Cajun Elite have developed there, and what's next for you, and to let people know to look out for those college clinics that come up through in the spring and the summer months.
The college clinics will be huge coming up in the spring. That'll be so much fun. We're going to put on an FCA camp again this summer, FCA volleyball camp, and maybe even an FCA team camp, just to work on the discipleship process of it as well. But what we're doing here at Cajun Elite, it's not about me, and that's one of the beautiful things about it. I've got a staff here that I think is incredible. And literally, I can sit back at times and just watch them coach and learn from some of them. It doesn't matter if it's even some of our college kids that are coaching. Lauren Hill walked in the gym last night and brought this. She's one of the outsides for UL. Brought this energy about her courts, and just watching her court take off last night, I literally had this little gleam. I was like, "Oh man, they're really getting after it today." And just it was just really neat to see. So, I love what we're doing here. It's not for everybody. It's a high energy, super competitive, in your face environment sometimes, and I love it. But it takes a little bit of an acquired taste at times. But
well, that's one way to put it. I admire it. Let's just put it that way. And if you would, please say hi to Coach Whalen, Coach Terry, Coach Meredith, and all
Absolutely.
the good folks there. And thanks so much for your time. Continued success, and I'm sure we'll bump into you at a tournament here sometime real soon.
I can only hope, sir.
You got it. All right. That's Coach Ben Kaszeta over there with Cajun Elite. It's time for us to take our first break here on Diggin' It, but don't go anywhere. A very new concept that has come to Louisiana volleyball. We're going to talk about 2D volleyball. What's that? Well, we've got the guy who's going to tell you all about it after this timeout.
Hi, I'm Chris Hogan with Farm Bureau. Real service, real people.
Hi, I'm Andreas Hackman with Farm Bureau. I'd like to wish all the athletes in the river parishes a safe 2022 season.
Hi, I'm Robert Palmisano with Farm Bureau. We've been protecting families for over 75 years in the river parishes. Your friends for life.
Hi, I'm Aramin Melanson with Farm Bureau, Louisiana's insurance company for home, auto, and life.
I'm Will Sermon with St. Charles St. John Parish Farm Bureau. We provide outstanding customer service. Our amazing staff and in-house claims adjusters assure that you'll be taken care of in your time of need. Real service, real people. Proudly serving Louisiana families for over 70 years.
The Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan has it all. A great place to watch the game, daily drink specials, and you won't believe the food. From our fresh 10-ounce burgers, fully loaded baked potatoes, and great salads too, like taco salad and grilled chicken. Need something to rinse it down with? How about one of our refreshing daiquiris? A great atmosphere for the whole family. Just a few miles west of the airport. The Sports Pub and Grill, 3001 Ormond Boulevard in Destrehan. Welcome back to the Diggin' It podcast, brought to you by Farm Bureau, St. Charles, St. John Parish, as well as the Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan. I'm Eric Richey, and I have been intrigued with this next guest for the last several weeks, several months, really. If you've noticed on any kind of social media, whether you're, a big fan of Instagram or Facebook, you're going to find this new volleyball entity called 2D, as in David, 2D volleyball. And they've got beach tournaments, they've got indoor tournaments, club tournaments, and they do a wonderful job posting video and highlighting their athletes. So I reached out and I wanted to find out more. So we're going to go to Ruston, Louisiana now and bring in our next guest. We're talking about Reece Aultman. Reece, man, you have done something great. You've increased the sport of volleyball in the state of Louisiana, even more so on the northern side. I know you went to West Monroe, Louisiana Tech grad, but thank you on behalf of everyone in Louisiana for bringing us more volleyball. Welcome to the show, and how are things going for you starting off 2D volleyball?
Hey, Eric, I really appreciate you having me on. We had our first tournament this past weekend, and I'm just going to say this. It couldn't go any better than I imagined. For people that never hosted a tournament, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And for our first tournament, having 36 teams, it's very gracious, very blessed that we were able to have the event down in Lafayette. And our goal is just to grow the game of volleyball in Louisiana. I mean, up here in North Louisiana, it's starting to really kick in. Ruston, Lucy Hunt has Ruston doing really good. Coach Carey over at Natchez Central is rolling. But it's really good to see the game of volleyball growing here in North Louisiana and in South Louisiana. So we're just excited to come in and just continue to grow the game.
Well, tell us, I guess, the concept. Take us from square one. You got the logo well represented on the hat there, looking sweet. The 2D, tell us the acronym. Tell us what's behind 2D. How you came up with the idea and what's your ultimate goal.
Sure. So 2D Sports is the name. We actually started about 10 years ago. Our owners started as a baseball tournament company. So a lot of volleyball players, they may have older, younger brothers that played in a lot of our youth baseball tournaments or high school baseball tournaments. We do a lot of recruiting for high school baseball. But I came into 2D in 2020. The best way to put it is I literally started right when COVID hit. So I got hired for 2 days as their marketing manager, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to have to let you go because COVID." But as a college kid, I'm like, I need that money. But then I understand the same point, what we went through. But I've been with them ever since, been their social media marketing. So I'm sure you've kind of seen the baseball side of things. But
yes.
My fiance, we're actually getting married in June.
Congratulations.
Played volleyball. Thank you. Played volleyball at West Monroe. She helped start the program. And as I went to watch her play for 2 or 3 years, I'm like, man, I love volleyball. Like, this is so much fun to watch. And so when I got to Tech, I joined the men's club team. And then I started to ref high school volleyball because my dad actually referees college football. Okay. And so I've been in the ref game for a while. I was like, man, I would love to ref high school volleyball. And so while doing that and while doing social media for 2D, we were approached about doing volleyball, hosting some volleyball events since it's starting to grow. And so early in 2022, we discussed it, got together about mid-September, like, let's do it. And so we came out with 6 events this year and just hosted our first one last year. It couldn't have gone any better. I'm thankful for everyone that came and played.
That is excellent. So I want to backtrack here. We need to zero in on the fiance a little bit more. Let's hear what is her name, and she's the one you said that helped start things over at West Monroe.
Yes, her name's Vivian Garvin, and she is my wheelhouse. She encouraged me. She was with me all weekend, just encouraging me, pushing me to learn and grow the game. And we play on every intramural team together. We play pickup in the backyard. Like she's credited for a lot of the success and a lot of the passion to keep driving the game and keep wanting to grow the game together. She's actually assistant head coach at Downsville Charter, which is a Class B school up here in the Ruston area. She helped start that program. So she's all in as well of helping grow the game of volleyball in North Louisiana, which is awesome, which is what we need.
No, that's fantastic. And during this Diggin' It podcast, this is episode 11, throughout the high school and the fall, winter season, we had college coaches on, and Tanya Johnson, the LSU head coach, one of the things when I asked her about kind of the state of volleyball, no pun intended, in Louisiana, she immediately pointed to the increase in quality of play in the northern part of the state as a big reason why Louisiana volleyball is growing as a whole. So you're certainly on to something. And you alluded to your first tournament, Aces in Acadiana. You said it couldn't have gone any much better. We've got some video. I want to show that video, and it looked like you had some great teams there, some quality athletes. Tell us a little bit about the tournament and who was there, and tell us a little bit about some of the video we're about to see.
Sure. So what we're offering the clubs is, it's going to be same tournament, 10 sets guaranteed, pool play, bracket play. But what we also offer is our social media coverage and recruiting coverage. You can see here, we have videographers at every single court getting videos of like top kills, top aces, some of the top players, some great libero play as well. And with that, what we do with that video is it's another outlet for players to be recruited on. We gain film throughout the entire weekend, make cool montages like this for free for teams and players that come play in our events. And it's just another way for girls to get more film to be recruited. As we continue to grow, we'll continue to build our coaching database so that coaches will follow us and follow along with these great players. And also something cool we do for each game is we choose a player of the game. We want to make sure these girls get spotlighted for their success on the court. We want to make sure that these clubs get exposure for playing our tournaments. So our goal is to make sure when you come play with us, you're not just going to play 3 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and go home. We want to make sure that it's a quality event, so logistics are ran right, but also we want to make sure we promote and we give back to the clubs that give their time and financials to us. We want to make sure these players get seen because there's a lot of ways to get recruited nowadays, and social media is definitely one of those. And so that's something we're bringing from our baseball side that we do really well that's not really seen on the volleyball side. And so we had 5 courts, 36 teams, social media, every single one of them, even for the 12 and 13-year-olds all the way up to the 18-year-olds. They absolutely loved it. The parents loved it. If you want to go check out some, it's on our Facebook and Instagram. It's all over there. And just see what we're doing and see how we're giving back the clubs and how we're investing time back into the clubs that do so with us.
And go ahead and give it the handles if they're looking for 2D. Is
Sure.
it just 2D volley? I know VSN follows you, but go ahead and shout out for people that want to check it out because I love it. I actually saw it first at the high school state tournament. You were putting up highlights and kind of highlighting players and great kills and that type of stuff. Go ahead and tell us how people can follow you guys.
Sure. So on Facebook, it's 2D Sports Volleyball. And on Instagram, it's 2D_sports VB. Same as Twitter as well.
Got it. I'm putting you on the spot here. We saw some of the video, but can you remember some of the names of some of the top teams that were real successful in your first tournament, or even some of the players that won player of the game or somebody that stood out?
Sure.
The highlights that we just saw, the first girl was just dominating with kills. You had a great setter dump there. Go ahead and give some players' names or some clubs' names that participated and did well this weekend that deserve some extra love.
Yeah, absolutely. So that first girl was Zoe Jarvis from Southern Premier. She's a 2024 grad from Scotlandville. The next girl was Lila Dominique from Diamond Elite. She plays over at Terrebonne. And Diamond Elite actually had a really good weekend. All 4 of their teams were either champions or runner-up in the gold bracket this weekend. They did a really good weekend. The Acadian Juniors Red 15 team, they had 2 really good players, Lyra Gauthier from Westminster and Reece also had a really good weekend. They're both 2026 grads. But we had great teams. I mean, I can shout out a few teams: Level Up Starlings, I-10 Aces. We also had Southern Premier brought all their teams, the Sunsetters up in Opelousas, excuse me. Let's see. We also have Royal Digs. We also had Revive from North Louisiana. I'm going to leave someone out. So
that's okay. Look, you did good. You highlighted. That's what I want too. I want, this kind of the same philosophy, all this recruiting and other sports and, obviously the boys sports and football, obviously basketball, baseball, let's put names to these highlights and highlight these players, highlight these clubs. That's why we're going to do Diggin' It, Reece, all spring and summer, is to keep going with the club volleyball players because it's such a popular sport. And as you said, you got the bug and, you're inspired by your fiance, I'm inspired by my daughter, and just, taking her to these club tournaments and, high school volleyball at Mount Carmel and now beach volleyball. And let's talk about that because you're not just indoor, you're headed over to Lafayette. You're going to be putting on some juniors tournament at South Beach. Tell us a little bit about 2D volleyball's involvement with beach volleyball.
Yes. So what we're bringing to the club scene is what we're bringing to the beach scene. We, Nikki Fontenot over at South Beach in Lake Charles is, if you haven't met them or if you haven't been to their facility, it is state of the art. It is awesome. It is 9 premier sand courts, got a bar and grill right in front of the championship court. And it's going to be probably one of the coolest atmospheres. That's probably what I'm most excited for is the beach events compared to the club events, because it's just such a cool atmosphere. Parents have their lounge chairs out. You can watch the big game on the TV right behind you, and you feel like you're at the beach there in South Beach. And so we're hosting one junior doubles beach event every month starting in April. And I'm so excited for starting that competitive scene as well. Age groups range from 12 to 18U. It's doubles for both girls and guys. I'm really trying to push some guy events here in Louisiana because that's something that's starting to grow as well. And so that's something I'm super excited for is our beach events. We'll do the same social media coverage for those. And we're just really excited to get some more players and come over to South Beach and Lake Charles, which I think a lot of people are excited to come over there this season.
Look, I'm scrambling while you were giving that answer. I'm looking at when our club tournaments are in April. So I want to see if we can make your April tournament. I'm going to register Emma in the 16Us right now.
Awesome.
What date is it? What date is it? That's going to be the key.
April 22nd.
Yes, we're good. We're good. We're in a tournament in Foley, April 1st and 2nd, and we're actually at the Lone Star Classic, 14th through the 16th. But we are free the
22nd, April 22nd.
Put down Emma, Richey, and we're going to find a partner, and we're coming over there, man. That is awesome. Good stuff. And that's, like you said, this is the first of 5 beach tournaments that are coming up, 1 per month, again, at South Beach in Lake Charles. Tell me what's the next event indoor for the club volleyball scene, and tell us about if there's a club coach, director that is listening right now and says, you know what, I need to get our club involved with some of this. You know, we need to get our players highlighted on social media, a player of the game, and that type stuff. What's next, and how do people get in touch with you to register for your tournaments?
Yeah, so our next event is February 18th and 19th in Lake Charles on the campus of McNeese. It's called the Lake Charles Blast Off. It's $200 a team, 10 sets guaranteed. Same social media coverage and everything. The easiest way to reach out to me, you can DM us through our social media accounts, or you can text or email me, Reece at 2dsports.org. I'm a college kid, so I'm by my phone all the time. So my business hours are 24/7, 365. So that's the easiest way to reach out to me. I love to talk and love to discuss more. If you have any questions, I love to talk. I'm blessed that I get to do this for a living. This is my day job. I don't work any other 9 to 5. So my goal is to make sure these events ran well for clubs, that you're taken care of, that if you need anything, I'm always here and always available to answer any questions.
Excellent. And that's Reece with a C, R-E-E-C-E,
Yes.
Reece. And give the email address one more time.
Reece at 2dsports.org.
Excellent. Are you involved with baseball still, with 2D baseball?
Yes, I do. I do some a little. I do a lot of more of the social media managing side. So it's pretty cool how the whole process works. We pretty much hire high school and college kids to come video. So players that may not be playing anymore or want to stay in the game. It's a good weekend job. It's a really good weekend job. We pay well. And so they take videos, and then we have someone back home posting those videos. And so I just make sure I oversee all those people as they post throughout the weekend, making sure that we're spotlighting the top players, just making sure everything goes well. But I am involved on the baseball side, yes, which if you're not really familiar with our baseball side, it's pretty cool what we have going on over there as well.
Well, you know that 2019 East Bank Jefferson Parish All-Star team that won the Little League World Series, the Reece Russells, Ryan Dara, all those guys, they're all sophomores in high school now. So, we're following those guys real closely. I know Reece goes to Brother Martin along with Ryan at Lutcher, is one of the top players as well as a freshman. I think he got District Player of the Year. But, I followed you through those guys because it's interesting to follow those players throughout the year. Delot is playing over at Jesuit, but all those guys are playing. And I know it's fun for people to look back, because if you go on Twitter and you just put in Reece Russell, when he went 17 for 21 in the World Series, Little League World Series, people were ready to sign him to LSU, and Yankees fans, Mets fans were like, right now, I need him batting second for us. But it's so much fun following those guys throughout the years. And Ryan Dara has, grown into be a stud. All those guys, great players. But let's end it with volleyball, and I guess just something that you want, more philosophy-wise for people to know about 2D volleyball. And as you kind of make your way upon the scene and start these tournaments for the first year, what do you want these players to know and these club directors to know about getting involved in your tournaments, whether it's the club scene in the indoor or these 5 awesome beach juniors tournaments you got coming up starting in April?
Yeah, the main thing I want people to know is that even though we're not associated with USAV or AAU, we're not here to change the game. Volleyball has been around for hundreds and thousands of years. We're not here to change the game. What we're bringing different to the table is that we want to give the best experience for clubs, parents, and players. We want to make sure that when clubs come play with us, I'm going to be sure I meet every coach. I'm going to be sure I meet every club director, and that you have my number and that you can contact me anytime. If you have any questions, I'll answer. If you want to go get dinner or something, I'd be happy to do so. For parents and players, I want you to know that since you are giving your time and your weekend to come play volleyball and invest in your players and invest in the club that train you, we're going to give back to you as well. We're going to give back in the social media recruiting side. We're going to be sure to spotlight your players. We're going to be sure to take care of your players. You mentioned the Reece, whenever they're younger, coming up now. That's our goal for this social media, is that we identify players when they're maybe 7th or 8th graders and make sure we get videos on them and follow them throughout their entire career as they progress in juniors and seniors, so that we're not going to be the sole reason why they commit, but we want to make sure that we provide parents and players the free access to get videos on them to help them along their recruiting journey. Because it's hard, it's long, it's difficult, and it's a lot of tough decisions you have to make. But we want to make sure we help in that process to do that. And so that's our goal. We want to make sure we touch everybody differently at every level. We want to make sure we're there for clubs and there for parents as well.
Well, Reece, you're off to a great start, young man. We're certainly proud of you and the efforts that you guys have done, and we wish you continued success. I just told you, lock us in for that first beach volleyball tournament for sure, and just keep doing what you do, and hopefully we'll check back in with you in a couple months and see how everything is going. And you, by all means, reach out to us if there's anything that VSN can do to help you along as well.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it, Eric.
You got it. You got it. Thanks so much. That's Reece Aultman. Again, 2D Volleyball. Check him out and check out what they're doing to highlight local players and clubs on the volleyball scene. And obviously, as we said as well, they've been doing it on the baseball side very well for years as well. So it's time for our final break. As we do each and every week, when we return, we're going to tell you about what's coming up on VSN. And we've got a ton to talk about. Even some college baseball. We'll fill you in with the details after this.
Hi, I'm Chris Hogan with Farm Bureau. Real service, real people.
Hi, I'm Andreas Hackman with Farm Bureau. I'd like to wish all the athletes in the river parishes a safe 2022 season.
Hi, I'm Robert Palmisano with Farm Bureau. We've been protecting families for over 75 years in the river parishes. Your friends for life.
Hi, I'm Aaron Melanson with Farm Bureau, Louisiana's insurance company for home, auto, and life.
I'm Will Sermon with St. Charles St. John Parish Farm Bureau. We provide outstanding customer service. Our amazing staff and in-house claims adjusters assure that you'll be taken care of in your time of need. Real service, real people. Proudly serving Louisiana families for over 70 years.
The Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan has it all. A great place to watch the game, daily drink specials, and you won't believe the food. From our fresh 10-ounce burgers, fully loaded baked potatoes, and great salads too, like taco salad and grilled chicken. Need something to rinse it down with? How about one of our refreshing daiquiris? A great atmosphere for the whole family. Just a few miles west of the airport. The Sports Pub and Grill, 3001 Ormond Boulevard in Destrehan. All right, back to wrap up Digging It and tell you about a big week that we have coming up for you, VSN live streaming events, and we're going to start on Thursday, girls soccer, Sacred Heart. It'll be senior night. They'll be taking on Country Day. Friday, also senior night for both the Newman girls and boys soccer teams versus Willow. Thursday, a great Catholic League girls basketball game. We'll be live streaming John Curtis and Dominican. And on Friday, you are not misreading, it's college baseball. Loyola has a 3-game set with Freed Hardeman University, and we're going to talk baseball, live streaming Loyola College baseball. Again, VSN, the home of Loyola Wolfpack Athletics, a very proud home, and we cannot wait to get our baseball coverage underway. So that will do it for another episode of Digging It. I'm Eric Richey. Want to thank both of our guests, of course, Ben Kaszeta, as well as Reece Aultman from 2D Sports. Our director is Justin Thomas. I'm Eric Richey saying so long. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you at a volleyball tournament real soon.